my purpose, oh, what's my future?
You're listening to Mitch's 미친 영어 audio podcast. This is the official audio podcast companion to Mitch's 미친 영어 application, as well as Mitch's daily English Naver blog and Facebook page. Improving your English listening skills one podcast at a time.
I'm in over my head. I'm in over my head. All these thoughts are an ocean that I'm drowning in. I'm in over my head. I'm in over my
It's the week of Friday, May 17th, 2019. Hello, everybody. My name's Mitch, and you're listening to my podcast, Mitch's 미친 영어. English is crazy, so am I, so are you, because you are studying English. So you might as well study with me, because I'm a native English speaker. And it's best, as we talked about last week, in last week's podcast, it's best to learn English from a native English speaker, right? Because you can learn from someone who's Korean if they're speaking English, right? But as I said last week, it's not the best way to learn English from someone who's speaking Korean. Because a lot of students do that. A lot of my students, they learn English from Korean speakers, and the Korean speaker is teaching 90% in Korean. They may say something in English and then talk about it for 20 minutes in Korean. That's not the best way. It's better to do it 100% in English like this, but you are crazy if you do it. That's why it's called Mitch's 미친 영어. It's crazy. It's not easy. It's a lot more difficult this way, right? You might be listening to this podcast for the first time and it's all English, 100% English, and you're thinking, oh no, what is this? Turn it off. Stop. Don't listen to this nonsense. It's all English. It's difficult. It's too hard, right? That is something that you might feel at first when you listen to it. But let me just tell you, trust me, the more you do it, the easier it will be, okay? The less crazy it will seem. And there's a couple reasons for this. One is when you first listen to something in a different language, your brain, it takes a while to catch up, right? This happens to me even now. I mean, I've been in Korea for a long, long time, but if I start speaking Korean, if I've been teaching English all day, I've been speaking English all day, and then suddenly I meet somebody we're speaking Korean, it takes a while for my brain to catch up, to switch over, right? It's like there's a switch in my brain. Some people are faster than others. If you're slow, it's okay. I'm slow too. When I switch over to Korean from English, it takes usually a good hour, like 1 hour of speaking Korean, and then it's a lot easier. I can understand, I can hear what they're saying more. I can, words, the sentences come out of me more smoothly. That happens naturally, but it takes a little while. It takes time for my brain to adjust. Okay, and that's a real thing. There's a real scientific reason for that. Our brains, it's not easy just to switch suddenly from English to Korean. So my point is, when you listen to this, and I'm speaking only English, at first, if you're new to this podcast, if you're new to listening to only English, your brain is going to take a little while to catch up. Okay, it's going to take some time for your brain to adjust, and in that time, you're going to feel a little bit scared, a little bit nervous, a little bit annoyed, a little bit angry, okay, frustrated, because it does seem like it's impossible. But just trust me, it's not. Your brain will adjust. The more you listen to English, the more you listen to me, the more you listen to this podcast, your brain will adjust. It's similar to a thing that I listen to podcasts a lot, okay? And I have a lot of podcasts that I listen to, but, there's only so many hours in a week, so I have to listen quickly if I want to listen to all of them. I listen to them on the iPhone podcast app, and I think most podcast apps, you can do this. You can listen at higher speeds. You can listen at 1.5, or you can listen 2 times the speed. And at first, when I pressed that, okay, now I do 1.5 because 2 times is a little fast because my brain is slow. But when I first started doing this, I'd listen to 2 times the speed. I would listen two times faster than the original speed to the podcast. And when I did that, it would take a little while for my brain to adjust. So at the beginning, I was like, what are they saying? What's happening? What's going on? I can't understand. And then usually after 5 or 10 minutes, my brain would adjust and I could listen to them at twice the speed. Okay, now I'm not suggesting that you do that for this podcast because just listening at regular speed in English is going to be difficult. Okay, so don't switch me to 2 times the speed or 1.5. It's going to be unnecessarily difficult. Okay, you can do that for a Korean podcast. All right, but my point is your brain adjusts to that speed. Okay, so now when I go back and I listen to podcasts at regular speed, it's a very strange phenomenon. It's weird because my brain is adjusted to the faster speed. So when I listen to the normal speed, it sounds like they're talking in slow motion. It's very strange. You should try it with a Korean podcast. It's a very strange phenomenon. If you do that, it's kind of an experiment that I want you to try, just because I want you to see what it's like, the reality of our brains and how they work, especially as it relates to language and listening and speed and comprehension. Okay, so my point is your brain adjusts. Your brain can adjust, and it will adjust, and it takes time. So be patient, okay, as you listen to this podcast. When you listen to me speaking, if you're new to it, it's going to be a little bit scary at first, okay? But just know that in time, the more you listen to it, the better off you will be, the easier it will be, okay? And it will help your English a lot. As I've said many times, listening is the key to speaking, all right? If you want to be a good English speaker with good pronunciation, good grammar, big vocabulary, you have to do a lot of listening, okay? That's the key. And another thing that will help you with this podcast, it will make it easier for you, is if you follow my blog every day, Mitch's Daily English. Go to Naver, go to Google, search Mitch's Daily English. You'll find it. And there I'm updating every day, Monday through Friday. I post things related to English. I post things related to music, movies, TV shows, just news or videos that I find online, things that are interesting, things that are not difficult topics, okay? Nothing too heavy, nothing too hard. But I give you some quick English lessons, some quick cultural references, things that people are talking about, native English speakers talk about these days. It's all relevant, it's all current, it's all happening right now at this time. So that's why I say go there every day, spend 10 to 15 minutes reading the blog, watch the videos, listen to it, and that will help you. Just in general, that will help you, but also that will help you with this podcast because you'll be able to follow along with the things that we talk about in this podcast a lot easier, okay? So if you're worried that you're not going to be able to understand, it's too hard, everything's in English, just be patient, do the work on the blog, follow the blog, and watch all of that beforehand. You'll be prepared, okay? That's kind of like Yesip, yeah? Everybody asks me what is Yesip in English. I don't know, maybe previewing. We just say review. Review is 복습 and Yesip in English. We use the same word, review. Just review ahead of time and review after. Okay, that's what that means. So my point is, if you do all of that, it's a good way to improve your English, okay? And all of it is available on my application, Michin 영어. Download the application at mitchinenglish.com. The free version has access to all of this, my YouTube videos, my podcast, my blog. It's updated automatically right to your PC or Android device. My programmer is currently working right now on a web-based version. So it's going to be available for iPhone, everything on the web soon. It's coming soon, but these things take time. He's just one guy. He's working hard. He's doing a good job. But if you get that application, it's all right there in one place. It's kind of convenient. Whenever I update a blog post or a podcast, it automatically shows up on your application. So that's useful. And of course, if you want to study more, I have video lessons there. You can become a monthly subscriber and you will get access to all of my video lessons where I teach you how to speak like a native English speaker using dialogues, using conversations, using phrases that native speakers use. Very useful for you. Lots of hours and hours of videos available there. There's quizzes after every lesson. In order to go to the next level, you have to take a quiz to make sure you learned it. There's conversation questions for you to practice. And if you become a premium subscriber, you can get access to a native English speaker who will meet with you every week on Skype to practice those conversation questions from the videos. And that's a good way to really get it firmed up in your mind so that it stays in your brain, so that you use those phrases, and once you use them, you won't forget them easily. Okay, that's why I always tell you to try to use all the things that I teach you. Even on this podcast, when I teach you phrases, I tell you to go and write it, use it on my blog comment page or something, write it down in the Pod T comment section, use it in a sentence. That always helps, okay? That always helps. Remember, if you don't want to do that online, you can just do it on your own, in a book, in a journal, write down, try to use the phrases that I teach you in a sentence, in a few sentences. If you do that, I know it feels like homework, but it will help to firm it up in your mind and keep it in your brain so that you can use it in real life, okay? Because if you just listen to me week in, week out, you probably forget everything I say. Okay, so don't forget to try to take some notes while you listen to this podcast. Try to write down some things, try to use things in a sentence. That way you will get the most out of this experience. Okay, if you're just listening, maybe you're driving, okay, don't write anything while you're driving, but later when you get a chance, okay, if you're just listening to me, it's not going to be as helpful, but it is helpful. As I said, listening is always helpful. I'm just trying to show you some ways to maximize. We say maximize your return. Have you heard that? That's an economic term. Maximize your return. You know, when you invest in something with your money, you want to get the maximum return on your investment. You put your money in, you want to get the most money that you can back. Okay, that's called maximizing your returns. I'm talking like I know something. I don't know anything about finances, but I know that term, okay? And so I'm using that to apply to English. If you study English with me, try to maximize your return as much as possible. Some ways to do that, as I said, go to my blog, follow the blog, subscribe to the application, where you get video lessons and practice that. If you become a premium subscriber, that's an even bigger investment. Make sure you write down, take notes as you listen to this podcast, watch all the videos and all the movies and TV shows that I recommend, listen to the music, all of that stuff. If you do all of that, it's going to maximize your investment in the time that you're taking to study English, okay? I know that I do this stuff, and I know that everybody is not watching all of these TV shows, watching all of these movies. People are not, doing everything that I'm recommending, okay? And that's okay. But if you really, the reason I'm recommending these things is giving you something more to practice, more to study. And if you do it all, you're really maximizing your returns, okay? So that's what I'm saying. When I say maximize your returns, I just mean really do everything you can to try to get as much out of this as you can to improve your English so you can speak like a native English speaker. It's possible. You can do it. You will do it. English is crazy, but if you're crazy enough, you can do it. You can speak like a native English speaker. Well, let's get into the podcast. We've got a lot of great things to talk about. Let's start, as we always do, with entertainment reviews.
I wish my mind would turn off with the lights when TV screen, but here in the dark, everything off. I start to think it gets hard to breathe.